Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome in today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety Team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. You guys, if you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is, ask how your mental health is today.
Guys, welcome to an exciting episode of Pete for Anxiety here on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. My guest today is the award-winning wellness author of the running and mental memoir, Depression Hates a Moving Target. How to Run with My Dog Brought Me Back from the Brink, and co-creator of the writing journal, You Should Be Writing, a journal inspirational and instructional to keep your pen moving. The one, the only, Nita Sweeney. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's a mouthful right there. Dang. Anyways, listen, she's wrote a lot of books. Anyway, so there's so much to get over here. Best-selling author, mindfulness coach, mental health advocate, just everything, man. How do you have time to do all that?
I do one thing at a time.
Yeah, I've tried that. Doesn't work for me, though.
Yeah, the meditation helps a lot. But my mind can be going a lot of different places, but the action, trying to do just what's right in front of me. But yeah. I do a lot. I'm kind of a busy person, and that's okay.
I can see, though, because you also have Make Every Move, a meditation, Tita's third book. And then it says you also have your current project, A Daily Dose of Now, the 365 mindfulness meditation practices for living in the moment, a 30-year project. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the little one. I don't know if you can see them. They're kind of far behind me in this.
She's like, they're back there. And you see them? Yeah, that's
right back there. The little one. That's the
best-selling author, though. You know, it's like best-selling author here. You know, so that's so cool, though. I mean, when you start writing these books, you know, it's like you don't even think it's going to happen, but then it happens. You know, when you found out that you're a best-selling author, like that had to be a lot for you. You're just like, wow. People really like what I have to say.
It was a long time coming. I always like to say it took 20 years to be an overnight success. And because the first book, when it landed, the Depression Hates a Moving Target, that one really landed big, and it has continues to sell. And that's been great. But it was a dream come true, and a lot of work and a long time coming with a lot of help, a lot of help.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it too. I mean, that's great, though. It took off running right off the bat, and it's still going right now. So let me ask you about the co-creator project, the journal writing one.
Yeah.
What is the premise? Yeah. What's the premise behind that one?
Okay. So that is a journal. So we pulled author quotes, just various quotations from names you would probably know of different authors. And the idea was that we wanted to both instruct and inspire. And so at the top of every page, there's a quote from a particular author, and then the rest of the page is blank. And the idea is that you use it either as a jumping off point or as an inspiration. And the quotes are organized by topic. So there's some quotes about inspiration. There's quotes about the business. There's quotes about craft. There's quotes about mindset. There's quotes about being helpful to the writing community, you know, kind of giving back. And they're all organized by those topics in little chapters, but again, it's a journal, so it's meant for you to write in. And there's a little tiny introduction and a little tiny kind of outro epilogue thing. But yeah, my co-creator is a woman named Brenda Knight. She was the acquisitions editor at the first publisher I was at, and now she's with her own company called Books That Save Lives. And
I love that name.
She's a publisher, yeah, and that's what she specializes in, is books that save lives. They're mostly, you know, mental health, wellness, motivation, some business stuff, but a lot of just real kind of down to earth, this works kind of stuff.
That's awesome, though. I really like the name of that too. How did she come up with that name? Is that something she's passionate about too?
Yeah, that's been her passion. It was an imprint at the previous publisher, and I think one of the other authors, a woman named Kim Colgrove, we were on a panel. I'm not sure if I was on the panel or if I was watching, but she said something like, you write books or you publish books that save lives. And Brenda went, yes, I do. And they just took that and went running with it. And it's, there's a guy named Duncan that's her co-publisher now, and they're doing great. They're just doing good stuff in the world, which we really need right now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when you hear people are trying to make a change in the world, especially when it comes to that subject and different things like that too, because there's so much disinformation out there. All these people and all these influencers putting crap out there, just like, all right, let's go. What do you got now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's
my
it's
secret recipe. I want $5,000, please, for my secret recipe to wellness.
It's like an episode of What is it? Like an episode of Shark Tank over there.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Oh God, no. So your third book, Make Every Move a Meditation. How did you come up with that one? That one sounds an interesting one.
So the idea behind that book is that we always hear about meditation, sitting meditation. You might hear about walking meditation. If you've ever been to a retreat, they do slow walking, mindfulness walking, but you can actually meditate when you're doing any kind of movement. So the idea behind that book was to showcase how I meditate while I run, and to use that as kind of a bunch of examples. And it's a very much a how-to book. So there's tons of exercises. I call them your turn. Throughout the book, it builds. So it starts real simple and then it builds to a little more complicated. But the idea is just that you can do mindfulness practice doing anything. I mean, I'm actually meditating as I'm sitting here. I'm noticing I have a tiny bit of anxiety. I've done a few podcasts, but it's always different each time. So I'm noticing kind of a little jitter maybe in my throat, or I'm sweating a little bit, things like that. Just noticing that every once in a while, and then kind of coming back to the conversation. That's all it is. It's just these little bits.
I got you. Don't worry. You forgot to flex though and tell people that this was featured in the Wall Street Journal though too. You gotta throw that out there. Like, listen.
Yeah, it was.
That's so cool though. I mean, like, the minute you found out it's in the Wall Street Journal, you had to be ecstatic. You're like, what?
that was crazy because she that reporter did a search for upcoming movement books or meditation or something like that. I think it was mostly movement, and it popped up. It didn't even have a cover yet. So in the article, it's a description of the book. It was up for pre-order, but we hadn't even finalized the cover yet. So I was so cool. I was over the moon for that. Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's so cool though, because everyone knows what the Wall Street Journal is. I mean, like, we all know what that is. Hell, I was 10 years old and knew what that was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still around to this day. That's so cool though. I mean, wow.
Thank you.
You gotta flex now, and you gotta make sure you got a cough or like. By the way, it was on the Wall Street Journal. You know, you just gotta throw it out. There you go.
Yes. But it was, it's one of those things where I felt as if I was in the right place at the right time, because there's a lot of luck and timing involved in publishing. Tons of luck and timing, and you get a lot more lucky when you show up. When you kind of put yourself out there. And I've done that. I have a lot of articles I've written. I've been on a lot of podcasts. I, try to get interviewed whenever I can. I just put myself in front of people. And then if it's the right crowd, they want me to talk or want me to write. And if it's not, then that's not for me. But it took me a while to learn that, because I'm kind of anxious. I'm kind of an anxious person, and I want what I want. So, but that's been the process. But thank you for recognizing that, because that was kind of a big deal.
It is. It's a big deal. Listen, you flex that everywhere you go. Like Wall Street Journal, you got to say real loud, like you're clearing your throat, like real loud. Sorry, it was in the Wall Street Journal. That's so cool though. I mean, like, when you started writing these books, you have no idea where they're going. And like you said, depression hates a moving target. Hit the floor running. You're just like, all right, cool. Let's see what else we can make happen. And then when that book comes out, and then you find out that the Wall Street Journal came across it, and you're just like, okay, well, all right. Wow. It doesn't even a cover yet, man. I think it's all about timing always. I really do. Yeah. It
was, I was just there when she needed the information, and that's just what it's been.
So have you always been big into mental health, or is this just something you got into?
Well, I have mental health issues myself. And so, I've been big into mental health since I was born. It's when you live with anxiety, and I'm bipolar. And so I have that whole mood cycle thing. So, and I gave up a very lucrative career You could say it was taken from me in a way because of my mental health issues. I was an attorney. I was a partner in a law firm, and I practiced law for about almost 10 years, not quite 10 years. And I completely crashed and burned because I wasn't getting treatment. Not through anybody else's fault. It was the early 90s, and we weren't totally sure about the meds, and therapy wasn't a big deal in my family. It's like, what? And so I can't say that if I had gotten treatment that I would have still be practicing law. It wasn't a good fit for my personality because I hate conflict, which, gotta laugh about that. But I did a lot of research and writing. That was my forte. I could find, you need a case on something, I can find it. That was my thing. Send me to the stacks and I'm happy snappy. And, and so, and I did client work too, but that was kind of the big thing was the research and the writing. And then it shifted within the place I was working that wasn't completely going to work for them anymore. And I didn't have the resources to find another position, argue with them. There were lots of things that happened that nobody was at fault, really. It was just I had a disease that was not being treated. Yeah. And I wound up in the hospital. I had suicidal ideation. I came really, really close to ending my life. I'm so grateful for that. I mean, I have, I'm privileged. I have healthcare. I live in a big city. I live in the 14th largest metropolitan area in the United States, Columbus, Ohio. And, I've got hospitals on every corner. I've got therapists on every corner. I had insurance that would pay for stuff. I'm alive because of that stuff, because people don't have that. They die. And so I know that about the system, and I know that about myself. So I'm always grateful for that. And then it took me a while to kind of figure it out. I always wanted to write, but it took me a while to really, really decide, all right, let's do this. And what book? Because I've written a ton of books, but 4 of them so far are published. There's a 5th one kind of in the works, in the process. But I've probably written first drafts of 15 because that's just what I do. But but the mental health. Yeah, thank you. But I think I had my first panic attack when I was about 7. I just have lived with it. And so when I started writing, I didn't realize that was my strength. Talking about my experience was my strength, and writing about my experience and the tools that I've developed over the years. Yeah. And that's what people want to hear now. They want to hear the funny stories, but they also want to hear what works. And what works for me won't necessarily work for you. I'm not saying that I've got a cure-all at all.
No, I think that's a great point, though. Not everything works for everybody. Yeah.
No, because our brains are wired differently, and we have different experiences, backgrounds, ability to, different resources. But what worked for me was therapy, medication, and movement. Meditation, and then I do writing as practice. So the big 3 non-medical things are movement. For me, that's running. Meditation. For me, that's mindfulness practice. And writing as a meditative practice. Yeah. I write to publish, but I also write as it's kind of journaling, but it has a little bit of a twist to it too. So
listen, to the law firm, by the way, Nitita's inside soul said, "Hey, bleep that, okay? She's doing better things now, okay?"
Yeah.
But
I have an ego though, so I'm like, oh man, that shingle was lovely. Yeah.
Bestseller, man. You might as well at this point flex on them. Listen, I left your law firm and look what I'm doing now. I have 3 books. I'm publishing in the Wall Street Journal. Like, we could just list it all day for them. Just like the accomplishments will weigh them down. It's their loss. I don't have to tell them.
You need to stop because my head is going to get so big. I'm not going to go lift it out the door.
Listen, I'm doing the talking for you. I got you. Listen, I'm going to do the voiceover parts for your inner thoughts, But
thank you.
So I did notice an ultramarathoner too. I was going to ask you what in the world that is. I know what a marathoner is, but what the heck is an ultramarathoner?
It's anything longer than 26.2.
Jesus. Making me tired of you, man. Like, God, I couldn't even run that much. I'm sorry. That's so cool though. I mean, are you still doing marathons at your age now?
Yeah, I have. I'm signed up for a half marathon a couple months from now.
Okay.
But my last ultra was 2 years ago, so I would have been
That's still something to
60.
flex on. It's like you're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
doing it at your
I
age. You're
mean,
still going.
and I choose races very carefully so that they have long time limits. So this race, the particular race that I did, has a 24-hour time limit. And I'm slow. I don't care. But yeah, I finished. And it's the kind of thing where I joined a running group. And at first I just thought, I'll do a half marathon. That'll be great. I mean, my first thing was a 5K long before that. That's all in the first book. All that's in the first book, how I got from 5K to marathon. But the saying goes, when you hang around in a barber shop, eventually you're going to get a haircut.
Yeah.
And so when you hang around with, 50, 60, and 70-year-olds who run ridiculously long distances for fun, eventually you go, oh, man, if they can do it, why not?
Exactly.
And and that's what we do. So every Saturday I meet with these crazy people and we go run some ridiculous amount of miles, and then we go to breakfast, talk about people's kids and their jobs and their, some of them running energies, what race we're going to do next. We travel together to go to races, and that's fun. So there's I'm an introvert, but there's a very social aspect because it's kind of a tight knit little group.
Yeah, I was going to ask you though, in that group, do they know about your accomplishments, or you just
Yeah,
kind
they
of
do.
really say them? They do?
No,
Okay.
They do because the running group was very prominently featured in that first book, because if I would not be a marathoner without them. The group is literally called Marathoner in Training. That's actually the name of the group, the running group. And they have pacers, everything from like Boston Marathon qualifiers all the way to the walkers, every little pace. That's all the way through. It is really cool. And they know. They actually had a book signing for me at the running store that hosts the group. And every once in a while, one of them will be there on a Saturday. And especially when the season turns over, so the season is 6 months.
Yeah.
And the season turns over and they'll all be new people. And there's this one woman, she's so sweet. She'll always drag me over to the new people and say, now we have a best-selling author in our group here, right here. I'm like, and I always turn bright red. I'm so appreciative, but I'm kind of shy. It's weird because I want to be seen and I want to be heard. I want people to get the message. I want to share what I know. And yet I also want to be under a rock a lot of the time. So it's this weird kind of feeling.
It's like I tell people I hate people, but then I run a podcast and I talk to people all day. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, And it's always interesting because people that know that I do this show come and ask me, like, there's a young guy who always asks me 20 questions. He's like, oh, dude, you talked to today. He's always curious to know who I've been talking to. I'm like, well, and if it's something interesting, he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we talked about everything though. I talked to a lot of people on here. I get a lot of best-selling authors. I had a 4-time, a couple international bestsellers, and it's so interesting to pick your brains. Who did I have? I had Gloria Vanderhorst here a couple weeks ago. Me and her had a blast. Gloria and I were having a great time on here. We were working on a book idea. I don't know if she's going to run with it and steal it on me or not. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask her. But it's so great to hear that you're doing all that still. Even it sounds like you're completely active all the time, making me tired thinking about it.
Well, I had a couple years where things were dicey, and I want to write about that, but I haven't figured out how to frame it. I had what's called broken heart syndrome, or takotsubo. So I had an episode where adrenaline shot into my heart and made my left ventricle enlarge. And so it's supposed to be like a V and go snap, 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 real fast and easy. And instead it bulges. And so it can't push the blood out the way it's supposed to, the left ventricle. And so your energy level just plummets, and it happens instantly, happens really quickly. And it usually happens when there's an emotional and a physical thing that happens at the same time. It's the kind of thing where a mom, their kid will get stuck under a tree or something, and then they go and lift the tree, and they could never do it on a regular day. So with me, it was my husband passed out. And I was standing next to him in the bathroom, and I caught him and carried him into another room, which I could never do on a regular day. And that combination, he was fine, I'm fine, but that combination of that emotional thing, the fact that it was my husband, and the physical strain, my adrenaline just went through the roof and shot into my heart. And so I had that, and then I had 2 more. And so those ended the running for about a year and a half. It just was like I was training for a half marathon, everything was, going along, make every move. Meditation had just come out, and then bam, everything just came to a stop. And
Yeah.
luckily you recover from it. It takes, depending on your physical health and just a lot of factors, it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months. But mentally it really messed with my head. So it's really only been the last 3 or 4 months that I've been back to doing the distances that I was doing before, and really feeling like a part of the running group. I mean, I would attend, but I was walking real short distances just to be there, just to go to breakfast, stay kind of in the groove. And now I feel, much more like I'm back, and I'm knocking on a ton of wood. Can you hear me knocking on wood here?
There you go.
But so far I've been cleared for quite a while, but I just had to kind of wrap my head around getting back into it and feeling, because my body didn't feel like itself at all. Because I gained weight, and
I'm actually looking at something right here. I have a AI search over here that I'm doing. I'm looking at it now. It says that it resembles a Japanese Takosobo octopus trap. It's basically what you have no shape your heart would look like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Some crazy stuff,
it's supposed to look like this. It's supposed to look about like this, like a V kind of on its side, and it goes like that instead. So it's a little round. They call it a takotsubo is an octopus trap. It's a shape of a clay pot kind of that they use to trap octopuses.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, because I've never heard of that until now, and I was looking it up, and I have this little little browser on this side. That's what I'm looking at. It also says that women, particularly those who are 50, are more frequent than men to actually get it. Well, most cases resolve without permanent damage, thankfully.
Right. I think that they're finding that more men have had them than they thought, but it's underdiagnosed because they usually just assume it's a heart attack.
Yeah.
Oh, you had a heart attack. Now they can actually tell that, but for whatever reason, it's being more diagnosed now than it was. But so look up takotsubo. I've had 3 of them, and hope not to have any more.
Jesus, 3 of them? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, because apparently once you have that adrenaline spike, it's almost like a neural pathway. Then it wants to go there. So I'm on some medication now that is supposed to help prevent that. And, I try not to put myself in situations where I'm too stressed out, but you don't know when your husband's going to pass out.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So, so I was kind of rolling along. My goal was to do a half marathon in each of the 50 states, and I'm up to 25. So we'll see.
Hey, there you go. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's so cool. So
hang around with people that do, insane things, and next thing you know, you'll go, wow, I just did that. That's amazing.
Right. So let's talk about your last book, the most recent one, A Daily Dose of Now, the 365 Mindfulness Meditation Practices. It says that it's a 30-year project, and I believe it too. And, obviously 365 different practices, obviously. So how did you accumulate all that? Was it just over the years of everything?
What I accumulated mostly was the quotation. So each page has a little quotation, and it's everything from Popeye to the Bible and everything in between. Rumi, just anything that a quotation that felt like a jumping off point. And then I wrote a little tiny, you can call it an essay, but it's about 5 sentences. And it's something like, my husband and I are going to be flying soon. Every time I think about that, I get anxious. And then I remember, oh, wait, I'm not flying right now. I'm here on the ground right now. I'm not flying right now. And then it has a daily practice. And so that practice might be, feel your feet in your shoes. And the practice is really simple. It's something that takes just a second to just bring your head where your feet are. And that was actually the original title of the book. It's had a number of titles, which books do that, where they have a number of titles over the years before you get to the one that feels like it's the right title. But it was Keep Your Head Where Your Feet Are. That was the original title of the book, because that's the practice. It's keep your head where your feet are. And that's what all the practices are, 365 of them. And it could be, you could think of it as repetitive, but it's the way you do it. So you do it with when you're drinking water, or when you do it when you're walking, or you do it while you're talking, or you do it, while I'm running sometimes, all of that. And so those are 300, it's one a day, so that you just have this little tiny hit of mindfulness practice that's so easy. And and then my little anecdote about something, usually something about my life, might be about my dog, might be about my husband, my family, growing up, my father, my mom, something like that, where it's just so it's essentially a memoir, because that's pretty much all I write, but it's with a bit, always have a practical application.
Yeah.
So that's that book. And that one took me 30 years. Yeah.
I agree that those books have different titles, though, because I'm working on my own memoir, and I changed the name like twice now. I finally decided it's going to be called Voice of the Voiceless, and and things like that too. So I haven't even started writing yet, but it's on my list of many things to do. I've about 20 other things on that list, but we'll get to them eventually. It's on there. But yeah, I could agree with that, though. The title had changed. I forgot what some of the earlier ones were, but I was like, then all of a sudden it just hit me one day. I was like, it's just that title just came, and I was like, yeah, something about it, just like frequency really high vibrated with me. I was like, yeah.
That's when
I'm digging this. Yeah, that's when you knew. I got that feeling. I was like, I love this title already. It feels so good, and it's spawned to a side project I'm working on too, thing where I'm collecting, like I'm asking people, like, if you want your story to be told, I'll tell it to you, but the only requirements are that I'm not going to share your name. And it's going to always be signed off as Voice of the Voiceless, meaning that your story will be heard. People will hear your story. It'll inspire somebody, but that way you don't have to feel like shame, depending on what the story is. Because some of them are just, they're brutal. This morning was a good example of a story that was just tearjerker, man. Me and my guest this morning, Tiff Carson, we were having a crying moment together, man. It was rough listening to her story. She was telling us about her brother, and all these other things just kept coming up. And I'm just like, oh God, dude, it was great, because it was just like, it's the first time in the show's history I've ever cried in this show. But I'm telling you now, man, that was a tearjerker and a half, man. And it's, when you get into these conversations, you never know where it's going, and I had a guy.
People are honest. That's what people resonate with, when they really tell the truth. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah, we had a guy get a little too honest on here, but I love him to death, though. His name's Brian. He was on the show at the beginning of the year. He basically was telling us that at the beginning, before he got on the show with us, that he had considered taking his own life. And he laid out exactly what it was he was planning on doing. And he goes into it and then comes back to it. And it's just like, I don't think he realizes that that's what he started. He went autopilot and just started telling us about it. And I was just like, oh God, this is happening. Here we go. Buckle in. We're about to be in for an interesting ride. And I've had like some crazy stories that come on here, like the Columbine shooting survivor. I had no idea that she was inside the library about 6 feet away from one of the shooters. And I'm just like, when you get in this topic, it gets rough sometimes. Like I've been privy to a lot of things, and it's just like, I always come back for more, though. I love it, Dan. It's so great. I love hearing people's stories. I love giving them the power to share their stories. I love meeting new authors, because, I have a stack of books that I just get from different people. I've signed them for me and sent them to me, because I'm going to get enough space for a studio. I want to put them back on there and just have them as different things as, hey, these people were on my show at one point. And it's so cool, though, because like I would have never been doing this, but it's always been coming to me. It's like, I just wanted to start a podcast. So I did one. I originally did another one before I got into this one. Like we were talking about, at the right moment, I started this one. I got offered a spot on the network. This show had blown up to the end of the year. By the second week it wasn't even in a thought that was put out there for people. Liddy had all the way to the end of the month, people literally out there. And then when it hit November, I was out to July of 2025. And mind you, only Monday was the only day I was taking for it, because this is my weekly show would be on Mondays and things like that. And then the network said I could expand it and take one of their shows on. I'm like, well, nobody else is really scheduled. Can I just work around everybody else's schedule just to get more, get seen more? And they're like, yeah. So then I opened the books up, and man, we blew up from there. I think I'm at 139 interviews left to go. 137 to be exactly. So, and it's just like, it keeps going, though. More people keeps up.
It's a topic that so many people can relate to. I mean, it's just everywhere. You talked earlier about the stigma that, I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't been touched by either their mental health journey is at issue, or someone they loves, or someone they work with. I mean, it's just everywhere. And so no wonder, not a surprise. You really struck a nerve.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Thank you.
No, I get it, though. No, I get that completely, though. Based on the demand of people that want to be on here. And it always makes you laugh. People say, oh, well, you're booking into like November. I'm like, oh, am I? Okay. I don't honestly, I'm just kind of taking people as they come, and I'm always looking for new fascinating stories and things like that, and different people, so I'll hit up other people. Like I'm on Instagram, I come across some stories, I'll reach out to people, and it's so much easier now. I approach people and I ask everybody, hey, blah, 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 I have the show, but if in the beginning I wouldn't talk about it, but now I can walk to anybody and have a conversation. Oh, yeah, I have a podcast. My wife literally rolls her eyes every time I mention it. Here we go. And it's like, well, I talk about it
That's
like
what
I do
you
a
do.
podcast.
That's your
Well, it was
thing.
funny because one of her, she was in the hospital. So one of her staff was actually, she wrote children's books. She said she was meeting with, who is it? Jesus, now James Cameron's, people or whatever, publicists or whatever. And she had a podcast too. And I was like, that's interesting. I have one too. And then, after all comes out, it's like, I talk about it with everybody, man. Cause it's like, I love it. I'll talk about it. Everybody's so interested when they find out too, like, oh, you're on a podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much heard everywhere. Like I'm heard as far as Australia. And it always blows people's mind when you tell them that too. I'm like, yeah, what do you talk about? And when it's interesting to see their faces when you mention mental health, because depending on the age range, the older crowd are kind of like, some are okay with it. Other people are like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's fuddy duddy and all that other things, which I get it, because in the 90s, we didn't look at mental health the same way we do now. Like we didn't know you had damn near enough stuff that we did.
Well, that's what kind of happened to me at the law firm. It wasn't that I worked with great people. Let me just say that I worked with great people, and they were so relieved when they found out I had a problem and I was going to get help. I mean, they were just so relieved, but we just didn't talk about it. You just worked harder. And that was kind of my parents' generation too. You just worked harder, and things might fall apart, but then you just pick yourself up and you keep going. And what happened was people disappeared. People fell off the radar. People went to hospitals. People did, they didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about Aunt Bessie or whatever. And so that's kind of why my first book, Depression Hates a Moving Target, hit so well, I think, is because people were really ready to hear about it. It was pre-pandemic. It came out in 2019. But I talk about the emotional problems that I had, and I talk about coming really close to ending my life, and I talk about a year where a whole bunch of people died, and the grief nearly made me consider it again. And I mean, and people were ready for that. They wouldn't. If that book had come out in the 90s, that nobody would have read it. They would have thought, oh no, this is, she's just a slacker. That's all. It's you just need to, like what the Wall Street Journal's slogan used to be?
What was it?
It was tougher, smarter. It could be you. Or it might be tougher, smarter, harder. It could be you. I mean, that was their slogan, literally. And, not now. No. So,
I can only imagine. You remember like TV in the 90s, so it's different versus now too. If you think about it, though, like the stuff they got away with before, and people are so sensitive about things now. Like, God, go watch some 90s commercials. Y'all want to see some pretty outrageous things, like Jack in the Box is selling a burger in an abortion clinic or something. It was something so obscure. You're just like, what the hell is going on? Like they had no limit to anything. Like they didn't think anything of this stuff.
As long as it would sell, that was the big thing. That was It was money, cash was king.
Yeah, and we didn't know much about mental either. And then medicine, they were just throwing medicine and everything. There was no all these other modalities you have now and different practices people do. And, even you talking about meditation in the 90s would have been, oh, well, you're just a granola cruncher or you're yoga and, all that kind of stuff. Like, would it make sense, though, because it works.
Yeah. And now there's a lot of science behind it too, that I don't know when the original studies were done, but now there's so many studies that have proven how effective it is for mental health, but also for physical health. It actually lowers your blood pressure. It can, make heart rate variability better. I mean, there's just so many things that it can do. There's a whole bunch of information about that in the beginning of Make Every Move Meditation, because the first chapter is titled "Why Bother?"
Yeah.
I mean, why do I even care about this? That's literally the chapter title, because I had to sort of convince people why they might be interested in this.
It makes sense though, because a lot of people are skeptic when it comes to things, because you see all these different products and all these different things, and it's like, are you selling me snake oil or is this the real deal? Right. And it's just, I get it though. It makes sense because it's a hard topic. No people really like to talk about it. And then when you talk about it, people don't really know much other than depression and anxiety. A lot of people with BPD get misdiagnosed with bipolar, and it's like how they run so close together.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That is exactly what happens.
And it's crazy though, because it's like, they run so close together, but they're so different. But at the same time, like everybody doesn't exhibit the same things. You have different people that show different symptoms, so it's hard to diagnose it. Even what is it, that one FND, functional neurological disorder. If I remember, that's how it broke down correctly. But that's one of those really interesting ones that I found out about early on in the show. I had met a woman from the UK. She said that when she stresses out, her hand would like go into a claw kind of thing, and it'd stick like this, and she'd had some kind of paralysis. And there's another guy I met. He said he had facial paralysis when he get too stressed out, and she said it took like 15 to 20 years for them to diagnose it.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Because it doesn't show up like a neurological disorder. It's just the way your body's reacting kind of thing. And it's just so interesting because it was like, really? I'm like, I wonder how long it took here, and it took less time here for us to find it. But over there in the UK, I think hers was actually 19 to 20 years, she said. Here it was actually 15 to 16, I think, years. It was actually less here for us to find out about it. But it was so fascinating because once you start digging into some of these things, it gets more interesting because it's like, you start meeting people that have these things. So you start looking for these certain things that they do, like I met.
Yeah, it's like a radar goes on. Once you start hearing about it, then the radar goes on. You start seeing it.
And you understand it better. You know what I mean? You're not so afraid because you're like, okay, well, that makes sense, especially the girl who came on the show that had DID. And it was like, you'd watch it, but you'd see the little tweaks of things where it just kind of like start making sense after a little bit. You start really realizing what's going on, and you're not pointing them out, obviously, to her because that what's going on. And it's so interesting to watch, though.
You're seeing so many people that you're just learning all kinds of things because you're seeing, you're hearing them talk about it with sharing, but you're actually seeing it live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of times I am.
That's amazing.
I love it. I think it's great. It's so interesting because like when you see it and you're watching them and everybody experiences it differently though. Like especially BPD. We had a guest early on in the show the first half of the year in November. She's a musician. She came on and I didn't know she had BPD until she told us during the show. She was like, "Yeah, I have BPD." I said, "So can I ask you what that's like?" And she said that it was like questioning everything about herself, and then she had to question who she was each and every day. And it was so fascinating because another girl I worked with is the reason I even knew about it. Because when I went to look at these videos, I came across this woman named Dr. Jen and things like that too, and she was like, Dr. Jen had a bunch of informational videos and things like that as well. And that's how I learned a lot about it because a girl I worked with had it. And she was telling me a little bit about it. Because I kept noticing like weird things. Like she was a cigarette smoker, but she had 4 different packs of cigarettes. Like, girl, why do you have 4 different packs of cigarettes? She just laughed at me at first. And then when she found out what I do, when I do this podcast on the side, she's like, oh, never. Then she started telling me a little more about it. And it was different versus this other person is like, well, hey, this is how it comes to me. And I'm like, it's so fascinating because now you're getting to meet people that have these things and everybody's telling you different things. And you're like, it's so great because you don't get this much information a lot of times. You don't get to see these things. I think one guest actually said, one of her first cases out of school was she actually had a person with DID. And she's like, yeah, let me tell you, that was probably not the first case I should have had. And it was crazy because it's like, why would you give somebody that new, that probably has no idea what they're dealing with, to deal with that situation? Because they could get tricky quick.
Yeah, that can be really complicated. And oh my goodness, there's ethics issues there. I'm not sure.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it starts to make you really start asking questions. You're like, really? You gave this to a new person who's just fresh out? It's like, yeah, you could have soured this person because they're dealing with something that they're not ready for. Especially that one. Jesus, no.
Yeah, that's sometimes I think I should sign everything Nita, not a therapist, Sweeney, because I definitely do not have, I'm a lawyer, I'm a writer, I have an MFA, I have a bachelor's in journalism, I have a law degree, a master's in fine arts and creative writing. I took some psychology courses and that's about it, but I do not envy therapists and psychiatrists and their patience and their skill and oh my goodness. And there's good ones and bad ones just like in any profession, but yeah, the stuff they deal with all day long on a long-term basis, just amazing to me how they can do that. I don't know.
You don't need a therapist anymore. They have the internet now. The internet's your new therapist, that whole thing. Yeah. It's like,
that's scary to me. I just, there's some, according to, is it Siri? One of those, either Alexa or Siri. I still live in Sandusky, Ohio. I've lived in Sandusky, Ohio since 1962. So, there's just some wrong, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad one. but there's plenty of really wrong information out there. So
Yeah.
be careful. Be very careful.
Yeah, God, please check your sources. I can't tell you that
Yes,
enough times.
yes.
Check your damn sources. Stop going that trend that Chat GPT is your new therapist, because it's not.
Yeah,
For the love of
no,
God, please don't. We've already explored that several times with other people, that we found out that Chat GPT was telling people how to commit suicide. I'm like,
I
man,
know.
I was
It's
like,
just
what?
so scary.
I
Oh,
was like, stop.
yeah, I
Please
heard
stop.
about that. Oh, well, in the legal profession, there, lawyers that, I mean, lawyers do use it. They'll use any tool that makes their job easier because
Yeah.
they want anybody. But especially in the early days, there was one, I don't know if it was an entire firm, but there was one lawyer who got reprimanded because he filed a brief that had cases that didn't exist. It cited cases that didn't exist. And he used ChatGPT to write the brief. I mean, hello, how
No,
many
stop.
dollars an hour are you getting paid?
Right? This is what you're supposed to be licensed in. These are the things you went to school to study. You should know how these things work, man.
Yeah,
Stop.
yeah. I
Stop
mean,
doing these
somebody's
things.
got. I mean, they have. I mean, we had a huge caseload too. Sometimes we used to joke that if it wasn't on fire, it didn't exist at the law firm I
Exactly.
was working for. But whoops, sorry about that. Um, um, but yeah, that was just pretty sure he got a talking to about that.
Oh, I'm
Stern,
sure he
a
did. Like
stern letter. He
I'm
got a
sure
stern
there's
letter.
interesting
Yeah.
conversation to be had
Oh,
there. Why
yeah.
did you come to my courtroom showing up with Chat GPT as your
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
your co-creator here? Come on now.
Yeah.
So let me ask you though, are you working on anything else right now? I know you said you wrote a
Yes, I
bunch of books.
am. I
Oh, okay,
am.
okay.
So I am writing another memoir that's really more pure memoir than anything else that's been published. And
Okay.
it's about the last year that it's about my father's, my relationship with my father. So the
Mm-hmm.
last year that he was alive, I had been in the psych ward. I had left the law firm, came really close to ending my life, and had been in the psych ward. And then he was diagnosed just a few months after that. So felt like I was kind of on the upswing. And then he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He had already metastasized. And so I had a lot of time on my hands, and all he wanted to do was play golf.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We played golf together the last, until he couldn't play anymore. And then after that, he and my mother lived with my husband and I until he died. And during that summer, I learned a lot about him, but I learned a lot about myself. And
Yeah.
I was able to heal some old wounds with him and with other people, just through, I was in therapy and group and all that kind of stuff, but just time with him, playing a game, being outdoors. And so I went from somebody who really wasn't sure she wanted to live. And I've been at that point a couple times in my life. I have,
Yeah.
cyclical chronic depression. I'm bipolar. But
Yeah.
this was the first time that I'd really kind of stared it in the face and to wanting to live. And I lost my father and found myself. So, so far the book's called Memorial. And
Okay.
we're working with a bunch of different subtitles because it's memorial because it's sort of a memorial to him. It's a memorial to my practice of law because there's a lot in there about how I left the firm and why. And my mental health journey, really the first big part of the journey. I go in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
But also one of the things that he and I used to do together here in Central Ohio, there's a golf tournament called the Memorial, and it memorializes a particular golf, pro every year. And it's at Muirfield Country Club here in Dublin, Ohio. And he and I used to go and watch that. And
Yeah.
when I was a partner in the firm, we had tickets. Often the senior partner was a member there, and so we would have tickets. And also anytime we needed to round out a foursome, if we were playing golf with clients, the senior partner knew my dad was a crazy golfer, loved golf, and he would say, "Hey, would your dad like to play?" And him and I playing together like that was sort of the way our relationship rebuilt after a bit of a rift in my younger years. And so the story is sort of about us rebuilding our relationship even before I got sick, and then me getting sick, and then him getting sick, and then us sort of rebuilding our relationship again as he died. And so I think it's going to be, I think it's a lovely story. But of course, it's my story. It did just get an honor. It was a finalist in the Faulkner competition which is a kind of a literary writing competition. I just found that out yesterday that it placed as a finalist in that competition, which is kind of a big deal.
Got to
Yeah.
add it to the title resume.
I know.
At this point,
I'm supposed to
you got to
flex,
get
right?
that. You got that. You're gonna start having that, like, playing with the whole little banner behind you, coming behind you thing. It's just different things. So,
Yeah.
sorry,
But
but
it's,
those are just my achievements. Don't worry.
But it's kind of the kind of thing where, when you're writing something, and this I've worked on and off for years. He died a long time ago. And it's one of the things I pick up, put down. I finally really got serious about it this year. And so to have somebody other than me say, yeah, this is pretty good. This is top shelf. That means a lot, because you just don't know. I mean, you're in there with the words and the feelings and the pictures and the, letters and all the stuff you use to compile this stuff. And I think, do I have anything here? Do I have, so to have somebody else say, yeah, you got something here, that really means something. So watch for that. Hopefully in May that'll come out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
But yeah, that's what it's a mental health. It's a father-daughter memoir about mental health, cancer, and golf, and
That's
love.
Awesome.
And love, yeah.
It's awesome. That's what I'm saying. You'll have to let me know when it gets closer, then we can hype it up. Maybe I'll have you come back and we can talk about it a bit, promote it a bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love books. I was never a big book reader until I started doing this show. Then I read a memoir that was about breast cancer. Erica Newbert wrote it. It was called the Double Mastectomy I've Always Wanted, and it was something else. Like, I was just like, wow. The vulnerability this woman put, she literally bared it all for y'all to see. The scars look like some saw things, is what she was calling them too. And I was just like, I believe it, dude. It looks like Frankenstein been sewn together here. It was horrible, but you get to see her and her change and how she regained her womanhood. Mm-hmm. It really regained herself as a person, because like she lost everything. Like, we know how we identify men and women, or there's certain things, and it was powerful enough that she said men were messaging her saying, well, thank you, because I read this book and now I understand what my partner was going through. And, it was interesting to get the perspective of male, because she'd asked me to read it and said, yeah, I'll read it. Why not? What the heck? I'll get you the perspective on it. Let's go for it. And that's, I do. It didn't bother me. I was telling people I was reading this book. People were looking at me kind of strange, going, what are you reading? Oh, I'm reading a breast cancer memoir. And they're just looking at me like, huh? I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying it pretty good actually right now. It gets pretty gritty in the air. And it's just like, I don't care. I don't care what people think. I'm like, I do what I want to do anyways, and the fact that you and your dad have a relationship, me and my dad have a good relationship too now. It's like, ever since I started the show, it's again kind of a weird, because he was sharing a lot more things with us. Like, we went on a trip and he started talking about some things I've never heard this man ever say in my life to me. And I don't know what it was. It's just something that we've always kind of had a weird relationship since we were kids, because he was never really around. He was always working and my mom was always home with us. So when he was home, he was sleeping a lot of times, so if you needed something, you had to go ask him.
And you had to wake him up. That was the thing with us. It's like, oh my God, don't make me wake dad up. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right. Yes. We didn't want to wake dad up. It's like that game, Don't Wake Daddy, you don't want to wake him up. And things like that too. So we never really, we did stuff together. Like, we go to baseball games and he get like tickets to go to like the Cubs, because we were in Chicago, is where I grew up. So we went and saw the Cubs and things like that. So I love baseball. I've loved baseball since a kid. I still am a baseball fan. And he always take me every year to go see the White Sox play, and stuff like that. But that's like the only thing we do. We went to Canada a couple times on a family trip. That was great too. But like, there's a lot of dark side to that too. Things to just watch him go through, and it gets crazier as the years go on. Like, I was with him for a while. Like, me and him were really close. Nobody else really talked to him as much as I did. But then there's a lot more to tell in this book. There's some things people are going to find out about me I've never told anybody too. Like, I have my own stuff I deal with and things I've done and I'm proud of. And it's going to get gritty for some people. I think, just like, I'm going to tell people, buckle in when you read it. I said, it's going to get ugly, because you're going to find out more things than you knew.
Have you started taking notes? Are you taking notes about what you want to write about? You don't have to write anything. You can just like,
not yet. I think it's on my list of things to do. I've got a lot going on recently. Like, within the last 2 weeks, I've become a podcast network owner. So I've been working on that.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Deal.
Yeah.
It was something I was so excited when they asked me to. I was like, yes, because I've been here since day one. come to find out now I'm gonna have to rebuild it, which is fine because I can rebuild it in the way I want to rebuild. I can bring in the people I want that are dedicated and things like that too. Some people told me that they're inspired by me because I inspired them to do a podcast, and they're very happy with what I'm doing. They're so excited for me, and it's just like all I'm doing is having a conversation, but that just proves that a conversation could go a long way, and things like that as well.
Skill set, though, you have. See, that's what some people think. It's like all I'm doing is having a podcast. Wow. Oh my gosh. But that's a skill set and a passion for you. And not everybody, I mean, I couldn't do that. I would not have that consistency. I wouldn't have the patience. I wouldn't have, and here you are doing this, sharing people's stories, my stories. They said that woman's story sounds amazing. I mean, people, that's what they're longing for, is those vulnerable conversations, this authenticity, people talking about, the gritty things of their lives. People want to hear it. They want to know what's real.
They want to hear it a lot. Like I said, the demand on the show alone it's just proof enough that there's something here, and it's been like this since day one, and we're almost a year into this thing, and it's like people always tell me the same thing too. Like, oh man, I don't think I could run a podcast. I'm like, it was rough in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like now I could tell other people these are the things that'll make it easier for you right off the bat, because it was just like, and everybody's like, well, I don't know what to talk about. Whatever you want, whatever you feel like you can fill a space with, and be consistent about it. Because that's the one thing I did get told. That was what I got told from the beginning. That's the first thing I got. And then actually the guy that had told me that message, he's going to be a guest on the show too. He actually reached out to me, and I was like, he's like, well, I found out you're following me. I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been following you since day one, bro. I remember when you first started doing your podcast. I've seen all your videos and everything. And it's like, you're just fangirling to this poor guy. And he's just like, okay, cool, But that was the thing. It's like it's being consistent. It's hard though. I mean, it's I juggle a lot of things I'm doing now, but now I'm like changing up my schedules of how I do things to make it easier. I have more time to do stuff, because then you got to post it on social media and all these other things, and it's like
you're a business owner. I mean, you're a business owner. As soon as you start a podcast, you're a business owner.
It's been great though. Like I said, I enjoy it though. It's one of these things I hope that eventually it'll be one I can just quit my job and just do all the time, and just because I just love doing it, just meeting new people, having these conversations, getting to see different things. And soon I'll publish author to the list, and stuff like that. And it'll be an accomplishment itself, and all this other great stuff, and if I had told somebody a year ago these are things I would be doing, I probably wouldn't even believe it myself, because I was like, I was on the fence, really on the fence about this whole thing, about starting this thing. But then it was like, I was just like, no, this is something I want to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. And I don't want to, I'm not, who's going to stop me from doing this? And I'm glad I did it though, because I've had so much success. I've met so many cool people. Hell, I even had an ex-NFL star here that was on the show a couple weeks. It was great. It's just been so great, all these conversations. And every time you hit go live, it's like you're bringing a new conversation to the table. And I'm hearing my name from other podcasters are talking about me on their shows and things like that. And then you start doing guest spots on their shows, and it's a lot of fun, man. It's like every day, that's all I do all day. Everybody's like, do you ever sleep? No, sleep doesn't exist. So,
okay.
So Nita, I have a question for you. I've been asking all my guests this question. So here it goes. This actually comes in from a friend of mine who runs a podcast. It's called The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. When me and her were interviewed, she said to me, Pete, if your mental health had a song, what would that song be? So my question to you now is, if your mental health had a song, what would that song be?
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round, right round.
I love it. Yes.
It is
That's
a
awesome.
wild ride, especially in my head. That's the thing. The meditation, you look so calm on the outside, but oh my God, what's going on in the inside?
I like to tell people my anxiety is like that Disney movie Inside Out 2, the little anxiety. It's like I'm like, that's my anxiety. There you go. There's what Pete's anxiety looks like, And so that's great though, because everybody has an interesting answer. I think so far, I still think the top answer so far was Rage Against the Machine from Susan. Susan Snell goes, Rage Against the Machine. She goes, you're gonna make fun of me for this one. I said, why? And then she told me about it, and I was laughing. So shout out to Susan. She's had so far the best answer so far. I was so shocked by that answer, because I'm like, okay, all right, Susan, I see what you're working with over there. All right, okay.
I like it. And the machine is a printer. The machine is a printer.
Yep. It could be whatever machine you want it to be at that point. Yeah. She's yelling at it. So my other question for you though is, if you could break the stigma about mental health, like anything that you've had through your whole time, what would be the one thing you tell people to stop believing into?
Oh, I think just that that it's like that we chose this or that we're lazy. I think that's the probably the lazy is that's kind of where I was going with the chose this is that very few people are lazy. I met a ton of people as a lawyer in my years writing. I mean, usually they're exhausted. They might be confused.
Yeah.
They might be bored. They might be in the wrong job, work, the position, whatever. They might be up against some, privileged stuff where they're not privileged and got all the whole system against them. I mean, there's that. But I just don't think people are lazy, and especially people who have mental health issues, because we're not just fighting all the regular stuff that everybody else is fighting, all the stuff that just life throws at you. We also have this thing in our head that often is trying to kill us. I mean, it really is trying to kill us a lot of times. If you have suicidal ideation, and many of the mental illnesses, that will be maybe not a primary component, but it's there in the background sometimes. You're just trying to stay alive, just period. And so when people talk about, oh, they're just lazy, they just want a handout, or that just infuriates me, because there's always something else going on. There just is always. They might be afraid. There's just always some other factor that's not being addressed, that's not possibly fixable. It might not be fixable, but they should still be entitled to exist. Should, be fed, be clothed, have food over, roof over their head, all that the basic stuff. People, just because they're a human being, they should have that basic stuff. And so when I get the whole lazy thing, that's a big, I guess you can call it a trigger for me, but that's just one of the things that I just want to go, stop, look deeper. That's just an easy answer. Stop, look deeper. So that's the big stigma thing that I think probably sets me off. And that could be,
agree.
That's a theme in my next book, let's just say. So there could be some, like trauma coding kind of stuff going on with that. But yeah, the lazy, that's the one that I just want to kind of throttle people and say, will you look deeper? Will you just look deeper?
Because you don't know what somebody's been dealing with, or what's caused them to end up that way, because there's always a story behind the story. You what you see in the outside isn't always what's going on in the inside in their heads, because we don't know what they've been through previous to that. And
what they're going through right now, that they're not willing to tell you because they're afraid they're going to be judged, or worse.
Labeled crazy.
Yep.
Well, Nita, I wanted to thank you so much for coming. Did you want to let everybody know where they can find you? What's your best social site to use? I know you're everywhere. I saw your social list. It's on there. I gotta put it in the description of the video, but it is long. But she's everywhere.
Yeah. So really the best place to go is my website. It's nitasweeney.com. So it's just my name.com, and all the other links are there. And then I have a newsletter, and there's a link on my website. There's, a couple freebies you can get if you want to hop on there. It's a bit random. Sometimes it's twice a month. Sometimes it's once a month. I don't know that I've ever hit once a week, but I tend to be really vulnerable and authentic there in my newsletter. But yeah, I'm on the TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on the Book of Faces, I'm on the, all the places, the Sky of Blue, I'm on all the stuff. I think I'm on Mastodon. Does it even exist anymore? I think I'm even on there.
I'm not even sure what that is, honestly. What is Mastodon?
Whatever. If there's a new one, I'll tell you someplace I'm not is Substack, and we're not going to go into why. I have my name saved there, and you have to save your name, you have to post once a month. And so I post, I'm not here there. But I'm on Medium. I am on Medium. I do post things there. I have a Patreon, but I haven't done anything with it. But that's something, for another day.
No, I agree there. That's how I feel about Patreon.
And my books, I have to say this one more thing. I have to say, because my editor will be upset if I don't. My books are available wherever fine books are sold.
There we go. You heard it, guys. Go find your books. You want to search them all, anything you want, and everything everywhere. She's everywhere, guys. And I'm Pete versus Anxiety. I'm everything. I'm on TikTok, down to Instagram, and all the way down to X that I don't even use. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?